In a time long past, nestled amidst lush green rice fields and whispering bamboo groves, stood an ancient riverside village. Life flowed as steadily as the nearby river, where buffaloes grazed peacefully on the banks and farmers sailed their boats to and fro. But along this river's edge, near a cluster of swaying coconut palms and the village market, lived a poor young man named ChuDongTu. Now, ChuDongTu wasn't like other young men. He wore tattered hempen clothes, and his patched-up straw sandals were held together with frayed ropes. His skin was tanned from working long hours in the sun, and his hands bore the rough marks of a farmer's life. Despite his poverty, he was known throughout the village for his honesty and his big heart. He treated everyone with warmth and respect, always lending a helping hand to those in need. He lived in a small thatched hut with his father, who suffered from a chronic cough. The little hut had walls woven from bamboo strips and a roof made of dried palm leaves. Inside, there was just enough room for a low bed and a cooking hearth. On the bed lay his father, too weak to work in the fields and too ill to come out in the sun. With their meager savings, ChuDongTu could only buy the barest necessities, leaving them with hardly anything to eat and no money for his father's medicine. One day, ChuDongTu's father passed away, leaving him alone in the world with nothing but a single loincloth to his name. Poverty-stricken and heartbroken, he spent most of his days by the river, seeking solace in its tranquil flow. It was here, amidst the soothing sounds of nature, that he spent his time throwing small stones into the water and watching them dance and sparkle as they hit the surface. One morning, as he sat by the river lost in thought, he heard the distant sound of drums and cymbals. Curious, he turned toward the commotion and saw a long line of dragon boats approaching. These weren't ordinary boats. They were large and beautifully decorated with colorful banners fluttering from their sterns. Each boat was manned by teams of strong oarsmen dressed in vibrant uniforms. And in the lead boat sat a stunning royal woman adorned in flowing silk robes and golden jewelry. Her dark hair was neatly braided and delicate white orchids adorned her graceful head. Her eyes were like pools of melted chocolate, and her lips were painted the color of ripe cherries. This was Princess Tien Dung, the emperor's beloved daughter. Her entourage docked by a sandy riverbank, not far from where ChuDongTu sat. Seeing them disembark, he quickly tried to hide himself under a nearby mound of sand. Feeling embarrassed by his poverty, he pulled his loincloth tight around his waist and covered his head with a wide-brimmed straw hat. But as luck would have it, Tien Dung and her maids chose to bathe in the very spot where he was hiding. And when they uncovered the sand, they found ChuDongTu sitting there, scared but honest and unmoved by the presence of such a beautiful princess. Startled by the unexpected sight of the young man, Tien Dung couldn't help but laugh. She found his bashfulness amusing and his simplicity disarming. Everyone else in the kingdom had been so caught up in their own vanity and status, desperately trying to impress her with their wealth and power. But here was this poor young man who didn't have a care in the world, minding his own business as if she were just another passerby. As ChuDongTu sat there awkwardly, Tien Dung approached him with a gentle smile. She asked him about his life, his dreams, and his hopes for the future. And as he spoke, she noticed something remarkable in him. Despite his humble beginnings, he had a fire in his eyes that spoke of resilience and kindness. He told her about how he took care of his sick father and how, even in his passing, his father had been full of pride for his dutiful son. Tien Dung was deeply moved by his story and, more importantly, by his character. She saw in him a depth of soul that transcended his poverty. In that moment, she knew she had found someone truly special, and without hesitation, she declared her love for him and asked him to marry her. Of course, he was surprised by her sudden proposal. Who wouldn't be? The beautiful and graceful Princess Tien Dung wanted to marry him, a poor farmer with nothing to his name. But looking into her sincere eyes, he felt a warmth spread through his chest, a feeling he had never experienced before. He loved her too. And so they decided to get married right there by the river. Word spread like wildfire through the village, and soon the entire community gathered by the riverbank to celebrate. Villagers of all ages came running, their faces filled with excitement and curiosity. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the landscape, colorful silk canopies were set up along the riverbank, forming a majestic backdrop for the wedding ceremony. Glowing paper lanterns were released into the twilight sky, each one carrying the hopes and dreams of the villagers. The night was filled with music, laughter, and dancing. The newlyweds traveled together, living freely, teaching others kindness and compassion and helping those in need. Their love story became a beacon of hope for the people, showing them that true happiness lay not in material wealth, but in the richness of the heart. One day, while walking through a dense bamboo grove, they came across an old, dilapidated temple. Drawn by an unexplainable force, they stepped inside. The temple was small, but exquisitely beautiful in its simplicity. Sunlight streamed through gaps in the roof, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Suddenly, their gazes fell upon an ancient monk seated in meditation deep within the temple. His eyes were closed, but his presence seemed to fill the space around him with tranquility. As the monk opened his eyes, a radiant smile illuminated his wrinkled face. Extending a gnarled hand, he welcomed them, sensing their pure hearts. After exchanging pleasantries, the couple explained they were looking for guidance on how to live a life filled with meaning and purpose. The monk listened intently, his gaze steady and wise. When they finished, he spoke in a voice that resonated with peace. "You both possess extraordinary qualities," he said, "but sometimes life's journey can be challenging and you might need aid to navigate these hardships." Understanding their innocent request, the monk led them to a secluded part of the temple. There, adorned with blooming flowers, sat a golden staff and a magnificent conical hat resting on a pedestal. "These items are imbued with magical powers," the monk explained. "The golden staff will grant wishes, offering comfort or assistance whenever you desire. And this conical hat holds even greater powers. With a mere thought, it can transform into a magnificent parasol shielding you from harm." ChuDongTu and Tien Dung bowed, their heads in gratitude, recognizing the immense value of these gifts. As they continued their journey, they encountered various challenges, but with the staff's help, they transformed into wondrous experiences. They used the conical hat to shield themselves from storms, to summon shade in sunny meadows, and even to call forth refreshing rain during times of drought. Finally, after many years of wandering, they arrived at a lush forest untouched by human hands. Here, amidst the towering trees and vibrant foliage, they decided to rest for the night. And as they settled down, they noticed that the magical items began to glow with an ethereal light. Startled by this sudden surge of energy, they watched in awe as the forest around them started to glow. To their astonishment, they found themselves enveloped in a golden cocoon. Looking down, they saw the forest floor recede as they ascended higher and higher. The golden light grew brighter, revealing a magnificent celestial palace descending from the heavens. Its spires and turrets glittered like 1,000 stars, beckoning them towards the divine abode. With a mixture of wonder and apprehension, they reached out to each other, their fingers intertwined. Together, they faced the unknown, surrendering to the celestial embrace as the villagers watched in awe. From the ground, ChuDongTu and Tien Dung ascended higher and higher until they disappeared into the luminous glow. The celestial palace vanished, leaving behind a profound silence. The forest shimmered, gradually returning to its tranquil beauty. The golden light faded into the starlit night sky, leaving the villagers in wonder and reverence. The ancient temple stood bathed in moonlight, a silent witness to the extraordinary event. The villagers whispered tales of the celestial union, keeping the memory of ChuDongTu and Tien Dung alive for generations to come. The forest itself seemed to glow with a newfound magic, transforming into a sacred temple where weary travelers could find solace and inspiration.